If you want to get better at anything in life and progress, whatever it is, physical or mental or whatever, there's a simple principle, and you know it. Well, you might say practice. Just practice, practice, practice. And that's true, but only partially so. Practice really only applies to skills. And also, if you practice the same thing over and over, then you will not progress at all. You'll just be good at that very same thing. The thing that you're missing if you want to progress to something is to reach your limit repeatedly, often. Going to the limit goes beyond just practice. It goes for anything in life. How much can you take physically, mentally? If you hit your limit more often, it'll go beyond that point. What used to be your limit now becomes routine. Just think about when you first learned how to ride a bicycle. At first, you had to be on a tricycle, then you were on a bicycle with training wheels, and then you fell a few times and scraped your kneecaps, and eventually you knew how to go on two wheels pretty well. And it really didn't take that long, did it? If you just would have practiced with your training wheels on, then you wouldn't have been able to go without them, right? So you need to push your limits. And that goes for mental or physical stuff too. If you go to the gym, it doesn't take long for you to be able to push past whatever your limit was when you first joined. After a few weeks, you can go for 20 minutes instead of 15 on the treadmill and so on. Or lift 120 pounds instead of the initial 80. But it goes for mental strength too. The more pressure you put on yourself mentally, then the more you get used to that. So you can handle it better and push through it. And your threshold goes up. The thing is that when we grew up, we always had other people to push us that way. We had parents that taught us how to ride a bike. We had coaches that could push our physical abilities. We had math teachers that gave us progressively more and more complex math problems to solve. And then we moved out of the house, we graduated, and there was nobody left to push us. So now we were, as in everything else in life, we were left to our own devices. And I don't think that most of us actually kept doing that pushing. And oftentimes you probably figure out that what you thought was your limit was actually not. And when you get tired, that's not what your limit is. Your limit is when you're exhausted and you can't do any more. And even then, you can imagine that there's someone standing next to you yelling one more, a little bit more, and you probably could do that too. There's your limit. Of course, you have to recognize what your limit is as well, because if you go too far, then you can either have a mental breakdown or a burnout, or you could injure yourself physically or whatever, right? So it's good to find out what your limit is and then keep pushing that all the time, as often as you possibly can, and rest sufficiently in between. So that's my advice. If you want to progress, get better at anything, no matter what, find the limit and then push that limit. And if you have any thoughts on the matter, let me know in the comments.